This is the Ryen Russillo Podcast, presented by FanDuel. We're going to get to Dilfer pretty quickly here as we start today's podcast. But there are a couple things that I want to touch on. And that is, everywhere you turn right now, the Cincinnati Bengals are the headliner. They're the headliner on Monday Morning Quarterback. They're the headliner on some of the athletic stuff that I check out all the time. And that's because I think they're good. Look, this is probably a little bit, halfway through the season, maybe it doesn't really mean that much. But Cincinnati's right now the number one seed in the AFC. And if you go through the AFC the way the playoff would go to this point, what I've learned in both conferences here, like that first tier of teams has totally separated itself. I mean, look at the NFC, for example. All right, Arizona, we still know is undefeated. Tampa rolls. Green Bay, no issues, 6 straight. Cowboys are good. The Rams are good. That's 5 teams with only 1 loss or undefeated Arizona. On the other side of all the AFC teams that we've gone through here, and this isn't that different in that it's unpredictable in how we cycle through these week to week. But, for a bit there, it's the Bills. Hey, it's the defense, and it's Josh Allen. Okay, that's fine. And then it's Baltimore because of what they do to the Chargers. And I'm not going to now say, all right, well, that means Cincinnati is better than. But my point is, I think all these teams are pretty good. I'm a little surprised to see Vegas as the 2 seed. And even Tennessee, who puts it on Kansas City yesterday at 5-2. Like Tennessee last year, the deal was. We knew what they could do offensively, but we hated their defense. Their defense isn't that much better. It's still 24th in opponent's yard per play, but that's a team that's figured some things out here after starting the season with a loss to Arizona that we didn't really quite understand what that meant. So their losses are Arizona and then the Jets loss, which is weird and make a ton of sense. But Tennessee sitting there at 5-2, like it's just the top of both conferences seems to be very crowded with teams that we could cycle through every week saying, hey, I can make an argument for this team being the best in their conference. And I think that's kind of the lesson of all of this. I'm not now pivoting away from, hey, I don't think the Bills are any good because they have a second loss. I don't think the Ravens are any good because they have a loss like this. I just think all of these teams are interchangeable. And on top of Kansas City being a disaster, which I'm going to get to here in a second, it's basically kind of that MVP thing that we have. We say, hey, it's this team or this player, and it's not even close. It is very close is the point. It is very, very close at the top of both conferences. And from here on out, the rest of the way, we're probably just going to see all these different teams kind of own the headlines for a week. Cincinnati deserves it, though. This is the first time they've beaten the Rams. They lost to the Ravens 5 straight. They have not had a top 10 defense for the longest time. They're 5th in total defense right now. Jamar Chase is a matchup problem. They did a really good job in free agency. So there's just a lot to like with this football team. All right, Kansas City really quickly. They lose 27-3 to Tennessee. Okay, let's get to the Chiefs. It's 27-3, lost to Tennessee. Before this weekend, we could at least say with the Chiefs, well, you know what? Their offense is still pretty good. Like, look at some of the stuff they did. Look what they did at Washington last week. They're going to have to figure out their defense. Maybe it's going to be a problem, but they're still going to have this offense at some point. Well, as of now, they're not even in the playoffs. And they're basically shut out the entire game by a Tennessee team that, yeah, I'm telling you, I like them, but that defense isn't any good. It's not any good statistically. It's better than maybe what it was because their secondary was just off the charts bad last season. But Kansas City can't score. Mahomes gets destroyed on the last play that he was in the game. He went into the concussion protocol. He said he passed, so he'll be back. Chris Jones got hurt again. Another one of their guys got hurt. They had a bunch of injuries, but there's a stat now on them that argues basically the Chiefs, and this is from Mike Sando's athletic piece that he starts every Monday with. The Chiefs are a minus 9.2 on expected points allowed. So that means they're already at like a 9-point difference or deficit statistically when they start a game because of how historically bad this defense is. And he goes back and looks through it. They're the second worst defense since 2015 when the New Orleans Saints were just a little bit worse than this one. So that's what you're talking about. You're almost down double digits to start the game because that's what your defense is projected to do, or in this case, not do. Like I said, when the offense was still putting up some stats and you thought, okay, this is fine. We're going to ask Dilfer about all this stuff too. But I could at least go back to that. But that was so bad I don't really know what else to say. It'd be like, for me, it'd be as if Steph Curry, after a few years in the league, just couldn't hit jumpers anymore. And you just go, wait, is this all fake? Like, has this been a mirage? Did they figure him out? Because there still is a little of that stuff. And look, I thought it was a joke last week. I said, hey, I'll buy all the Chiefs stock in the world. I don't feel that way now. I don't. And I thought for sure, I was like, yeah, they'll probably still end up getting 10 wins and then we'll figure this thing out and see what happens. I don't feel that way now. I don't. I think it's getting uglier and uglier. I don't think that Mahomes has been figured out. I know this isn't the greatest example, but I remember when Mangini used to be in studio, we would talk about, like, what do you do when you have no quarterback? And he's like, it sucks because you're starting week one going, we don't really have any chance, do we? And everybody in the building knows it, but we were always hoping to do. And he's like, that's why a Matt Castle, that's why, Ryan Fitzpatrick, that's why some of these guys float around as much as they do, because you're like, at least this person has done it before. I'm not comparing Patrick Mahomes to Matt Castle and Ryan Fitzpatrick, but what I'm saying is it just seems impossible that somebody who played the game with such ease and was probably the quickest I've ever allowed myself to say, hey, he's probably going to be the best to ever play the position when it's all said and done. Resume-wise, it's going to be nearly impossible to catch Brady, but from a talent standpoint, it's that special. And now it's a mess. It's a mess. And I can't believe what I was watching for 3 hours against Tennessee.